guys, this is Dormouse03, and I am back with my friend Iron Praetorian. Say hello!
Hi, everybody.
And we're gonna talk about some more upcoming games that we are looking forward to. And I think we're gonna do a little Square Enix compilation here. The first one we're going to talk about is one of my favorite new. It's not new. It's old, but recently revamped, and has recently become one of my favorite series because I would not say that it was before the recent reboot. But I am, of course, talking about Rise of the Tomb Raider. So, what are your feelings as to this game, Mister Sir?
I am looking forward to seeing the continuation of Lara's adventures in this new revamped world and how her experiences in the first game will sort of enable her to deal with the new situations in the new game.
Yeah. I'm interested to see, you were mentioning like how the old one affects this one. I'm interested to see her character progression between then and now because I know that in this one she's off on some new adventures, and this is really, the first one was an origin story and didn't have as much of the like tomb raiding and exploring and finding stuff and whatever. It was really more about telling that story of they were on this expedition and her sort of coming into her own as a leader and as an adventurer and as a survivor. And in this one it's going to be more similar to kind of the old stories where, you know, she's got a lead on some artifact or artifacts and is going after it, and they're sort of competing people looking for the same thing that she's got to deal with, and there's probably a supernatural-ish twist that comes along with that. That's kind of Tomb Raider 101. So this seems to be back to that kind of formula, and I'm interested to see where they go with it. So in the announcement trailer, they showed her seeing a psychologist, and she, you know, was feeling the effects of what she went through. And so hopefully they're going to have some type of character progression along those lines of how she's going to manage with becoming the person that she's going to become. So that could be interesting.
Yes.
So we saw some gameplay at E3, and I don't know, what stands out to you about the new look and feel and gameplay of this one as opposed to the last one?
Well, I played the last one on the 360, and the first thing that struck me about this new version is that the graphical quality has definitely improved from that iteration of the game. You can see by her hair and the like landscape, and even like the water mechanics look improved, and also the improved crafting menu as well will have interesting possibilities for the gameplay, because it seems that you can craft things on the move. So there's a moment where she throws a mobile phone into a group of people and then quickly grabs a gasoline tank and a rag and makes a petrol bomb, throws it into the group and kills them. So that'll make for interesting gameplay. And also being able to like improve your equipment, like a bow, or maybe even like her attire to make her more damage resistant. And
That'd be cool.
poison arrows, silenced arrows.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the improved mobility, because we see her climbing trees, which gives you another angle from which to approach enemies, or maybe like get round obstacles, or not have to do certain puzzles because you can find another route round them.
Yeah, and it looked really intuitive as well. Like you didn't have to go into a bunch of menus, and it didn't really detract a lot from the layout of the game. There wasn't a lot of overlay stuff where you're like, oh, I see this tree and it's highlighted, so I know I can climb that tree. It's just there's a tree there and it looks like it has some lower branches, and so you know that you could probably climb that.
Yeah, it
So
doesn't look like a mechanic that's been shoehorned onto the game. It's been molded into the gameplay so that it feels like it's been done well rather than badly.
Yep. So yeah, I agree with all that. I think the being able to craft stuff on the fly was really cool, and the crafting menu really looks improved too. Like you have all these different components rather than just one base salvage, and that's used for everything. It looks like you have different pieces of salvage, so you get different parts from different things, and like you cut leaves off the trees and stuff like that to be able to craft different things.
Yeah, which seems like an improvement against something like there's an upgrade in a particular loot chest that you have to get to be able to upgrade this piece of equipment. So if you miss that, you're unable to fully upgrade something. But with a crafting menu that you just have base materials that you can make into lots of different things, that negativity is removed.
In the Tomb Raider reboot, you were able to find those upgrades, but I think they were random. Actually, I think they weren't in necessarily a specific chest or whatnot. It was just kind of random. You got, attachment number 3 for your machine gun or whatever. And I agree, it would be much better to just be able to have the base materials, and once you get enough, you choose which things you want to improve and prioritize over others, which is cool.
That may also make it so that you can have a particular playstyle. Like if you want to improve the bow and not use loud machine guns, you could play a more stealthy game rather than someone that just runs in all guns blazing. But then it gives the opportunity for people to choose which playstyle they want to use.
Right, in a better and I think more natural way than having the skill point progression upgrades and that kind of thing. So like let's say I really wanted to play stealthy and use the bow, well I might be crippled if I've only found upgrades for my guns. Whereas like you said, you can choose to prioritize those things, and it just feels like a more natural way of doing that. Very cool.
Cool.
What do you think about the fighting mechanics? So like the bear.
Yeah, the bear encounter was interesting because initially it's sort of a quick time event of her running for her life and then
Yeah.
having to attack it and subdue it to get it to leave her alone.
Right.
And then later on, you actually get into a boss fight with it.
Mm-hmm.
And how you approach that. I guess in the video they showed her attacking it with poison arrows. So I'm not sure if at that point of the game whether you'd be able to attack it in a different way.
I imagine you would be able to do it in whichever way you preferred.
Because I'm curious to see whether, like, if you didn't use the petroleum tank and kept that in your inventory, whether you could use that against the bear at that situation, or whether those kind of items are like you can pick them up, but once you switch to another weapon, you drop that item. So things of a certain size would not be items that you could carry within your inventory.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess that it's what you just described, that you pick it up and you can use it as a distractor or as a projectile or whatever, but you wouldn't keep it past that point. But it would be interesting. It would definitely be interesting, like, if you could then go back and pick that up if you hadn't used it, and use that if it's still in the world. That would be cool. Yeah, so what do you think about, or what are your guesses about the story and where that's going to go? And it looks like there's going to be multiple locations now because we saw at least 2 different places within the trailers and gameplay. The gameplay was all in Siberia and sort of the mountainous, snow-covered wastes. And then you also saw some jungle and waterfall and that kind of area as well. So it seems to be returning to that formula of going to multiple places in the same game. So I don't know. What do you think?
I think that's going to be an interesting mechanic to see Lara in, or the rebooted Lara in different locations and not just stuck on one island like in the first game. And what different mechanics that will bring in. Also curious to see if they have improved aquatic mechanics, like whether you could do underwater takedowns or improved underwater exploration.
Yeah, underwater takedowns would be nice, where if you could swim up to someone who's standing on a pier or something and pull them under the water and like stab them or whatever. That would be
I
cool.
suppose also like aerial takedown some trees and such
That was shown.
will be fun.
Yes, jumping off of a tree and bashing someone's head in with a rock who is unaware that you were present is always cool. So, I don't know. Yeah, I think the gameplay definitely looks improved. I enjoyed the stealth system in Tomb Raider, and I thought that they did it well because it was natural. You know, there was no like, I'm gonna go here and initiate this stealth thing, or I have to do this to crouch and sneak. It kind of was like when she moves behind something, she hides behind it. And it was very intuitive in that way. And it felt less like you were always fighting your controls to be like, I'm trying to sneak. And she just did it. So I am hoping that this is going to be, even improvement on that, and to continue that sort of formula.
I'm also happy that they have removed the multiplayer aspect of the game, which I didn't really think was necessary in the first reboot. It felt like something that they added in because they felt they needed to, when it didn't really add anything to the story of the game.
Yeah, it felt like something, honestly, that the publisher was telling them, hey, so we need you to put multiplayer in this game because multiplayer is something that sells games, and so we really need you to devote some resources to doing that. And they were like, all right, we'll do that. And it's not that it was a bad multiplayer, because it functioned just fine. It just wasn't necessary, and it wasn't super interesting. You know, it was just kind of generic and not needed, because I feel like the story and the game that was there, the single player experience that was there, was worth it to me, and I'm, as you said, really glad that they're not bringing that back. Any characters that you are looking forward to hopefully seeing again in this one?
Well, we know Jonah's in it because
Mm-hmm.
he's featured at the start of the trailer. Maybe Sam as well, because her and Lara seem to have a good rapport with each other.
Right.
And I'm hoping that they will have other characters, other likable characters in the series like they had in the first one, so it would be nice to see some new ones that aren't necessarily antagonists.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be neat, because I don't know, the other characters in the last game, they were not caricatures, but they were some of them were just above caricatures status. Like, they didn't have a lot of character development for a lot of them. And so it would be nice to see them fleshed out a little bit more, the ones that are still around, like Jonah and Sam, and maybe Reyes, is that her name?
Yeah, I believe so.
So if they're in this one, to see them fleshed out a little bit more, because I understand that the focus on the first one was Lara, and that's why we really didn't see much of them, and the focus, I think, is still on Lara, but it would not be nice to see a little bit more characterization and character progression for them as well.
Yes,
Well, are you excited for this game?
I am. That's another definite buy, along with Fallout 4, for me.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate that it is coming out on the same day as Fallout 4, unless they change the release date.
I have a feeling they won't, just because it's got to the time that's close enough to the game that you think they would have already done the change in release.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they probably won't, you're right, but it's a little bit, it feels a little unfortunate that they are releasing on that same day, because I'm going to buy both of them on the same day because I want to support both. But it's really going to be like, oh, I want to play this and I want to play this, and what am I going to do? So I feel like that's a little bit of a downer. But other than that, I'm extremely excited to play this game, and I'll definitely be picking it up day one.
So will I.
Awesome. Right, so the next game that we wanted to talk about is Just Cause 3. And I played Just Cause 2 a long time ago, several years ago. And I know that you just played it recently, and that you're super excited about Just Cause 3. So, tell me, what most excites you about this game? What looks cool to you about the demo that we just watched?
Um, many things look exciting about this demo. I particularly like the ability to use multiple grappling hooks at the same time, so you can attach multiple objects to each other and create interesting explosive capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the introduction of the wingsuit for even faster sort of air travel across the map. The fact that they've also made it a large open world again, like Just Cause 2. Also like the setting as well,
Mm-hmm.
like pseudo Mediterranean esque, like based maybe on Italy, Greece, France, that sort of area.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think just massive explosions
Yeah.
look really cool.
Yeah.
Graphic wise as well, the improved graphics on the new gen consoles will be fun to to mess around in.
Yep. It definitely will be. Yeah, the graphics look good. The physics of everything looks good as far as hooking the tethers together and all of that, and definitely massive explosions. I did say that something that stood out to me was the multiple ways to do some of those missions. So it's like you choose which way you want to take it out. There seems to be a lot of variety in the way that you can do things, and that
Yes.
is pretty cool. Destruction in multiple ways.
And all resulting in large explosions. Also, the fact that they talked about that you would have infinite C4,
Mm-hmm.
and that to me seems like an interesting concept, so that you don't have to keep buying your mandatory explosives.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's always good to have access to explosions, especially in
Hmm.
this game because, I mean, for me, the story doesn't really matter. It's not
No,
really
doesn't matter
stellar
for
and
me
it
either.
doesn't matter. It's really all about the mobility, which it looks like you have even more mobility with being able to hop out of planes and like walk around on top of them, with being able to combine the grapple with the wingsuit with the parachute to sort of move around. You're like Superman a little bit. Um, so the
Yes.
mobility looks really good, and then the destruction, which looks amazing. So that's what I'm looking for in a new game in this series, and it looks to deliver on that.
It feels like they took the best parts of Just Cause 2
Hmm.
and improved upon them and added new parts to the gameplay that will make it better. Like having the parachute as a more stationary aerial platform to be able to shoot from,
Hmm.
and then having the wingsuit to be more mobile. And also, it looks like the vehicle delivery system seems more rapid, where it's just dropped from a crate and then you'll instantly have the vehicle.
Yeah, remind me, how were they delivered in the past? Did they have to like fly them in, and it took a while?
Ah, that's a good question. I know I've played it recently and I can't remember.
I remember I didn't really have things dropped in very
No,
often.
I tended to go more for stealing military vehicles.
Yeah, stealing the things that were available in the world.
Yeah, I think you had to basically go into a menu, summon an aircraft that would then drop the vehicle for you. So
Hmm.
hopefully they may have streamlined that. I'm not sure whether that was shown in the actual trailer.
Right. Yeah, because it looked like they clipped a bunch of different scenarios together, but still, like, it looks like you get your vehicle pretty rapidly, and I don't know, it just looked cool. So, any final thoughts about this one? Is this a day one purchase for you? It's coming out in
Um,
December, right? So, a
yeah,
lot of other things will have come out before this.
I think by that point I probably will have maybe played some of the other releases that are coming out around that time, so there might be a void in my gaming calendar that could be filled with Just Cause 3.
Yeah, same. I don't know that it's necessarily a day one purchase for me just because there are a lot of other things coming out, and I don't know that I'll get through them all in time. but it's definitely something that I will buy and play and love
if
tearing the world up.
if I don't end up getting it day one, it may be like a Christmas purchase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Or possible present.
With your Christmas money, go and pick that up.
And you never know about the sales.
Absolutely. So, very cool. Sounds good. Looks good. So that's it for the first half of our Square Enix published games discussion. Let us know what you think about these two games, and look forward to the next part where we will discuss Hitman and Deus Ex Mankind Divided. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.